Hello, in this video I'll be showing you how to make your computer faster by removing unnecessary applications and removing startup entries and disabling services that may be slowing down your computer. So before we get into this, I'm going to create a system restore point because we are going to be modifying the registry later in the video, but it's just safe to have this on. By default it should be off. I don't know about your computer, but it might be off. I'll hit configure, turn on system protection. I'll set it to like 10%. Now it's going to take up a little bit of disk space, which is fine, but it's extra to be safe than sorry, especially if something goes wrong while I'm making this video or while you're editing the registry or modifying settings. So it's always good to have a backup. I'm just going to create it. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it the date, today's date. Should take about 30 seconds. It won't take a whole lot of time. Depending on your system, if you're using a solid state drive, it probably will be relatively quick. If you're using a mechanical drive, it'll take a little longer. So while it does that, I'll be back. Okay, the restore point was created successfully. We can hit close. So since we're in this window already, we can actually configure some other things while we're in here, such as this kind of miscellaneous setting. I just disable it because we don't really want remote connections unless you want assistance. I just turn that off. Performance, there's a lot of things we can tweak in here. Settings. Now here you can turn off the appearance. I'm not going to really mess with that right now. I'll go to the Advanced tab, and we're going to add some virtual memory to this system. By default, Windows has it set to 0 on this machine, but I'm going to set it to at least 5,000 megabytes, which should improve system performance because it'll actually help the computer run more smoothly, especially if you're running more programs, like multiple programs, and you are low on RAM. This computer's not really like a huge issue since I have 8 gigs of RAM on here, but if you're running like 4 gigs of RAM, it's probably a good thing to have this on here. Now this setting won't take effect until you restart, so I'm just going to hit OK. This, you can change the name of the computer. I'm going to change it to just Win to USB, which is basically what I'm using right now because I'm running Windows from a flash drive right now. So yeah, you have to restart in order to change to apply. Just hit apply, restart later. Okay, so let's actually get into removing some of this junk. So this is a fresh install. Comes with all this junk in the taskbar and stuff. So to remove this, you can keep it if you want, but like it's very annoying and it slows down the system having this annoying news panel open all the time. I just turn off this. I like to bring this icon down here so I can see the removable hardware connected to this system. This really not necessary. It's like an add-on for Skype. Unless you use Skype, it's not really that useful. And I don't use OneDrive either. So this thing is like always there when it starts up. So I'm just going to hit close OneDrive. Windows Ink Workspace, we don't need. I don't know how many people use that. I know you'll probably never run across it or use it. I'm going to get rid of the Cortana button. I don't like Cortana. I don't use it. It's a huge waste of memory and space. Show task view button, that's that thing. You can keep it if you want. I'm going to get rid of it. Personally, I never use it. Search, I'm going to make hidden. Free up some taskbar space down here. Next, all these applications in a lot of these things, if you're running a faster computer, you might not notice any difference, but if you're running at least a slower computer, these tiles will slow down the start menu from loading. It'll take longer to load, so I'm just going to unpin all this unnecessary junk that's here that I don't ever use anyway, most of this stuff. Just unpin. Either way, it's like unpinning it doesn't actually uninstall it. Like some of the stuff you can just uninstall regularly. Why is it even installed Spotify? Yeah, it's part of that bloatware package. I didn't ever. Spotify is like a third-party app. Just gonna uninstall some of this. Actually, I'll do that later. What now we can do is go to Apps and Features, and you'll see we can uninstall some of this stuff. I'm gonna uninstall OneDrive, which actually we can uninstall surprisingly. It's gonna come up with this window. Just hit yes. By the way, a lot of these things you'll need administrator permission to remove. Next thing I'm gonna do is open up Winareo Tweaker, which is you can download from the internet. It's basically a really cool program that allows you to modify certain settings in Windows and to get the best performance possible out of Windows. Settings that usually don't exist in the regular settings application or control panel. They're like hidden things you can modify. For this, I'm gonna hit enable. This is the Alt Tab appearance, which is this. I guess I don't have two apps open, but like you can switch between apps. I'm gonna make it the classic. Now you're gonna have to restart Explorer in order to see that. So ads and unwanted apps, I'm going to disable that. There's no reason why this crap has to be running. It'll definitely speed up performance, and there's really no benefit to having this stuff running unless you like seeing ads in File Explorer and tips about Windows and stuff like that, which I don't ever use. Disable arrow shake. Surprisingly, that's already on. Usually a lot of computers it's not disabled, it's on, but it's an annoying feature that Windows has. I recommend you disable it. Disable look for an app in the store. That's kind of annoying, like whenever you open up a program and Windows doesn't know how to open it, it'll say look for an app in the store, and it's just an unnecessary thing. Disable automatic maintenance, basically when your computer's idle and it'll start installing updates and stuff while you're not using your computer, and it can use a huge amount of CPU and memory usage while you're not even on the computer. Like let's say you're gone for 5 minutes, it'll just start consuming a tons amount system resources and make your fan might turn on. This I'll just disable. Disable drivers. We got drivers. There's no reason for Windows to keep installing drivers. Disable MRT, malicious software removal tool. Now you can keep this on. It's this annoying little bonus that Microsoft put in there, just part of Windows Defender. I don't use Windows Defender. Disable Smart Screen. I disable that. In Windows and Microsoft Edge, it's pretty slow. Disable Timeline. That's basically the thing we removed. It basically keeps track of all the recent apps you opened up, and it can also, it's kind of a minor performance fix. I just turn it off. It's also like a privacy issue, in my opinion. Error reporting. We do not need Microsoft. We do not need this computer phoning home to Microsoft every time there's an error on this computer. I don't ever use it, and these things don't ever help the end user, especially if you're not receiving any updates. It's really pointless because they're supposed to be fixes, and usually they just get sent to a server somewhere, so I never have it on. Keeps thumbnail cache. I like to keep that on because Windows will load these icons a lot faster if you keep that on, because every time you shut down, it'll just like recreate these things and take longer to load File Explorer, so I'll just keep it on. Power throttling, I do not need. Now this one is a very important fix, especially for performance-wise. This svchost, as you can see in the more details pane, if you scroll all the way down to all these service hosts, SVC hosts, these can consume tons amount of memory, and they can be very annoying. Some of them are critical, while others are just completely worthless and useless. We'll show you how to remove those later in the video. But what this tweak does is it minimizes and reduces the amount of RAM that this process will consume. This is set in kilobytes, I believe. We'll just hit set the above. will reduce the amount of RAM. Now it looks like the number actually gets larger, but whenever you restart, you'll see the difference. It'll be a lot less of these service hosts. You'll still see the service hosts running. They'll just be grouped together, and it'll save a lot of RAM. We can just enable that. It's kind of a miscellaneous setting I like to have. Yeah, we want to have login messages in case our system's unable to boot or something. It'll give us messages and stuff about Windows and shutdown. It'll tell you like what Windows is doing during the shutdown, so I just have that on. I don't like the new battery flyout. Like, this is the new one. And if you uncheck that, you get the old one, which I prefer over the new one. This you can keep if you don't have a laptop. It's really a waste. I'm using a laptop, so I'm keeping this. You can increase the taskbar transparency. I'm not going to do that because increasing the transparency will actually slow down the computer a little bit. So, and plus, I kind of like it the way it is right now. So, I'll disable web searching taskbar in Cortana. That's that annoying, like whenever you just search for things, it'll like bring up web results. Like if I want to type in and it's the stupid stuff that comes up in your quick searches. I never use that. Start menu was never designed to be a web search. It was just designed to run programs locally stored on your computer, not from the web. So I don't ever use that anyway. Enable old volume control. That's this. The new one I don't like at all. It's this one. It also takes a little longer to load. Show seconds on the taskbar clock. That'll show the seconds down here. You'll see it. Now you're gonna have to restart Explorer for that to happen. I'm gonna restart it right now anyway. See, now you can see the seconds on the taskbar instead of just the minutes. This you can keep. If you're running like a really slow computer, I'd definitely recommend removing this, disabling this completely, because it's like every time you hover over this thing, it brings up this thing. It would just be faster to show the text, and it wouldn't load like the preview of the window. Wallpaper quality I set to 100. Some reason Windows always is dumbing it down to 85% by default. I'm going to set it to the max 100. Windows version on desktop, that'll show the Windows version. Actually, I don't need to sign out for this. I can just refresh, and I'll show the Windows version down here. Install, I just have that on. You probably will never use one of these cab files, but those will, like, for certain updates have those, and if you find one of those on, like, System32 or in the WinSys folder, you can install it using this shell location command. You can change this. You can make new reg files, CMD files, bat files, like, new. You got the basic text document. Depends on if you have like Microsoft Office installed, it might have like create new Word document. I'm just going to leave that as that for now. There's a lot of settings you can mess around with in here. I'm not going to mess around with most of them. I'll just have that on. Take ownership, that's an important one. For taking ownership of files that are owned by the system user or other users, you can get access to like basically take ownership of certain files on the computer that you can't actually remove or delete. Such as like, now clearly there's no good reason why to do this, but if you wanted to delete System32, you could take ownership of it and delete the files in there that way. Now, obviously, it's going to give me an error, and it's going to say you need administrator permission, and then you're going to need permission from the trusted installer in order to delete that, so I'm just obviously going to... I'm going to add a wallpaper location that'll, like, show you where the desktop wallpaper location is in File Explorer, like if I'm curious about where this... Now, obviously, it's going to be in, like, probably the web folder. Yeah. Basically, if you have a desktop wallpaper and you want to know where it is, you can have that nice little command right there. I'll add the personalization, the classic ones. I'll add it to the good old control panel. which I prefer over the modern settings app. Also, another thing you can do in here is you can hit category large icons, and then you'll see it show up in here. Okay, that you can also add an update thing to there. I'll just add it. Disable online and video tips and settings. I'll disable that. There's no reason for the settings app to have videos and I mean, yes, they might provide some help, but I never use them anyway. Insider page, unless you want to become a Windows insider, I'll just disable that. You can also hide other settings from viewing if you want. I'm not going to mess around with any of these specifically, but you can basically you can clean up the settings, the number of settings in here if you want. Do this for all checkboxes. I'm just going to enable that. Another cool feature with this program is you can actually add custom folders for File Explorer, like here. These little shortcuts in your user folder. You can add new locations. Now, I'm not actually going to make one. I'm just showing you that you can add, your custom locations if you have like certain application folders that you want, or like just quick access on this pane right here. You can just like add a directory here and browse like typical. This you can enable or disable. I'm just gonna it's basically it's nice because it shows you like a preview of what things you're in the run box. There's no reason to have this on. It'll speed up the icon cache process, the thumbnail preview process, and I don't know, it's just like a little animation. It's not really any performance-wise of needing to have that on. Now the next thing I'm going to do is enable the built-in administrator. That'll enable the built-in administrator on the system. It'll be like this is the administrator right now, but it'll enable the hidden built-in administrator that's been hidden since Windows Vista. I'm going to disable UAC. It's going to give me this warning here, and it says I have to reboot in order to change it. I'll do myself later. But that doesn't disable the entire program. We can hit UAC in the start menu and hit change control. Now it's hit to never notify, which I did. It'll basically stop those annoying pop-ups that come up whenever you try running a program that requires administrative permissions. I never use this. It's like an added security bonus. It's basically this dialog right here. You can disable that. It's basically you need to get a dialog just to disable this. So I'll just disable that. We can disable Windows Defender. I don't use Windows Defender. I got rid of the other program that that huge memory hog. It's a huge memory hog. It's a huge burden on the system performance. I disable it. You can also disable this security icon down here. Now, it should be maybe up here in the sys tray. I never use it. You'll have to sign out in order to get rid of it, and you can actually get rid of it right now if we go down through. Yep, here it is. You can just end the task, and it disappears. Oh, while I'm at it, I'll get rid of this Bluetooth thing. I don't use Bluetooth on here, so it's just one extra icon. Windows has to load up when you start the computer. I'll disable auto-updated store apps. I don't ever use them. Disable Cortana. I don't like Cortana. I could go on and on about why I hate Cortana, but I'm not going to do that. Disable Windows Ink Workspace. Disable telemetry and data collection. Definitely disable it. It's basically completely, it provides no benefit. It's just for Microsoft spying on you, basically. It's like, basically, come and take my data, that kind of thing. Disable shortcut text. I'm going to disable that. It'll prevent the clutter on your desktop, maybe. This thing, you can actually add custom folders, and I'm actually going to add one right now. You can select from a shell location. These are all the shell locations on your computer currently, and I'm going to add this one that Microsoft decided to get rid of recently in their newest one of their newer updates, system. Like if you try opening up system here, it used to open up control panel, but now it opens up the modern settings application, which I never use. So it'll restore the old one. You can hit an add, and you'll notice it appears on the desktop now, and it'll open up the good old control panel one where it has information about your computer and other stuff. You can also change the registered owner. I don't know if you ever need that, but like if you hit WinR and then hit WinVer, it'll show information about who owns this computer. I'm just going to leave it that unless you use WinVer all the time. I don't know how many people use WinVer all the time. Like you might just occasionally check in there if you got new updates. I'm going to hit enable Windows Photo Viewer. This Photos application, the newest one, is a lot slower for viewing photos, and pretty much I like the classic one, the one from Windows 7 and Windows Vista, that one. It's worked ever since. There's not really any reason why you keep using this modern one that says recommended for Windows 10. I never use that. It's too slow. But this one's way faster. Okay, so with that out of the way, those are probably majority of the settings that I would get rid of. Next, we will be removing unnecessary junk and unnecessary service hosts, which is actually going to be my favorite part of this video, is removing all this unnecessary stuff because we'll actually see the results. And also another thing that we'll definitely see after, I haven't restarted yet, but after we restart, if you watched it earlier in the video, you'll see a lot less of these SVC hosts running, as I explained earlier in the video. You can go watch that. So we're going to open up, first of all, you can go to the start menu, just type in services. You can type in services.msc, should come up right here. Just hit run as an administrator. It'll open up this console window. So in here, you can view the descriptions of the services, and then here you can change which ones are actually currently running, that's what we're looking for, is which ones are running. Okay, so while in here, I'm going to be disabling a lot of services and stuff, and some of them are more important than others. I mean, a lot of them have different functions for Windows. I mean, there is a lot running here, and not all of it we need. There's probably like there's probably like 20 things that Windows truly actually needs in order to function, but a lot of these are completely useless and just a waste of memory, and also some of them can be a huge privacy issue, such as like these connected user devices and other things, the telemetry clients and diagnostics. So let's just get right into it. So off the bat, I'm noticing this. This is a fairly new service included in, I believe, Windows from 2018. Disabling that. This thing, I don't even know what it does to this day, and Microsoft can't even explain what this thing does, but there's not really any reason for this to be running on most systems. So recovery, you gotta change these to take no action, hit apply. It's disabled and stopped. Okay, that's good. Bluetooth audio gateway service. I don't use Bluetooth, so automatically I can disable this. Recovery, take no action, hit apply. Next, this is part of the update thing. I never use Windows Update, so it's just one of there's like 5 different services for Windows Update, so this is one of them. I'm just going to disable this one. Background Intelligent Transfer Service. You can just read in the background, but it uses your bandwidth, which I'm not a huge fan of using that, especially since it's going to be using Wi-Fi, especially if you're on a cellular network. Bluetooth support service we do not need. I believe this one is dependent on another service or has dependent services on it. So if you stop, it'll say like this one's going to be affected too. So we can just it's basically 2 services in one that we can just get rid of, they'll stop running. Clipboard user service, I'll show you how to remove that, but this is completely unnecessary. But if you, some of these services, especially these user services, like where it has like these numbers at the end of the service, if you try disabling, it'll say the parameter is incorrect. So we can actually stop it, but we can't disable it, but we'll have to go into the registry in order to disable this thing, which I'll show later in the video. These things you do not need. This connected device platform, I think this one you can disable it. Some services have special permissions and you can't disable this, but it looks like this one you can get rid of. This one, again, it's a user service, so we're gonna have to edit the registry for that one. I'll be later in the video. This one's like, I don't think we need, but this one isn't like a huge memory hog. It should be, where is it? It's in here, local security authority subsystem. Yeah, creditorial manager. It's running in here. It's a shared service, so it runs 3 services in one. It's not a huge memory hog. It also doesn't really do anything that malicious or anything bad with diagnostics or stuff like that. So I'm just gonna leave it. You can get rid of it if you want, if you're like really concerned about performance, especially for gaming. A lot of this stuff is unnecessary. Disabled. Stop. This one's pretty important. It's a fairly new one, but somehow it's very important. If you try ending the task in Task Manager for this, you'll get a blue screen of death, so don't try it. This one's very important. Do not disable this one, and also safeguard it so you can't disable it. It's dependent on like a ton of things. I mean, look at all the things that depend on this thing that you need. So this one is like literally your computer won't boot if you don't have that. Delivery optimization, I don't think you can disable this one. Yep, I'm correct. This one you can stop, but the only thing is whenever you start up, it's gonna, yeah, I don't think you can modify the recovery options either on that. Next, I'm gonna get rid of, again, these are user services. I'll show you how to remove those, but we can just stop these. There's no reason to have these even running in the first place, and I'll also stop this one too. I'll just stop all these user services. They're like fairly new, and they don't really perform anything other than a few actions. This one is for NTFS drives across the network. These are, again, really old computers. You probably never need this unless you're using like a NTFS drive across the network, and I think even then it would still work. So I don't know how many people use that. It isn't a huge memory hog, but it's just one less thing off the computer. This one's for brightness control. If you don't have a laptop, you can definitely get rid of this, but I'm going to keep it on since I have a laptop. This one you probably want to keep on. I believe this one has an effect on the nightlight feature in Windows, which I sometimes use. The nightlight here, that affects that. So I believe I'll just keep that on. Geolocation service, we can get rid of this. This is just Microsoft nosing around where you are, and it's like a huge waste, and it just keeps track of your location. So it's like Microsoft wants to know where you are, so it just phones home. So it's a telemetry client, something to do with that. It's been there since like Windows 7, I believe, but it's not like anything like just included in Windows 10 specifically. I mean, I've seen it in Windows 7, so it's just a huge waste. These diagnostic things we can just disable. No reason to have all these diagnostics collected. Huge waste. Disabled. I believe the other one just okay. So all these services right here, the HP and Intel ones, I'm gonna disable. Now, I have an HP laptop, so these are the things that I get from HP whenever I got my computer, and so they're really unnecessary. They're just stuff that comes with, that HP includes, bundles with their drivers. Now, you will need the HP drivers, but these aren't drivers. They're just services that just run out of the box, and they can be huge ways. You probably have some other ones. If you're not using an HP computer, most likely if you're using like a Dell or Lenovo one, you'll definitely have this kind of third-party services running in here. They don't really provide anything unless you use like certain applications that they do, but I'm just going to stop all these and then disable. Stop, disable. Intel content protection, I'm going to hit disable, stop, apply, disable, apply, stop, stop, disable. I have an Intel-based processor and I believe graphics, so this stuff isn't gonna, I don't really need it. It's just a bunch of stuff that they include, same with HP, that I never use. I mean, this is for the graphics control panel, which it should be on here. It's for this command center thing. It's like a support service for this. Now, if you use this application, which I never do, I'm probably just gonna uninstall it right now anyway, but if you do use it, you don't want to disable this, so I'm going to disable it anyway. Recovery, take no actions, apply, disabled. Intel management, stop, and we disabled it, so we don't need this. Now you could probably skip ahead since some of these ones are just specifically for Intel, and if you're using an AMD processor, you won't have any of these. We don't want to enable actions for stops and errors because it'll count the number of days that the service has failed. So now this one, depending on your computer, especially if you have a laptop, this one might come in handy. I'm using a laptop right now. I don't know how useful it is for my specific model, but I know some of these. I know my brother's computer is Lenovo, and his definitely needs this one running, so I'm just going to keep it running. It's not a huge like memory hog. So IP helper, it's like a really old technology that you don't need. I'm going to disable it. Take no action. This one doesn't actually provide anything, especially for modern computers. It's like a really old service from the 2000s, so I don't really know a whole lot about it. Microsoft Store install service, we can disable that. If you don't use a Microsoft Store, definitely disable that. There's like 5 services associated with the Microsoft Store because the thing is so the Microsoft Store is very dependent on all these services running, so I don't use it. Now, it'll still open up. It'll just won't be able to update apps from that specific service. But as soon as we start digging deeper into all the rest of these services, yeah, it'll probably like prevent it from opening or something. So if you use it, don't disable any of these services that say like, this one also requires like Windows apps to connect to the internet. That's this. If you disable that service, you won't be able to see the network icon. I'm just gonna keep that running. These I'm gonna keep. Network store interface, payments and NFC manager, I'm just gonna disable. No reason why that, unless you're using like some kind of weird payment thing for like, if you own a business maybe that uses that, I don't know. Really useless, especially on a home computer. Program compatibility assistant, we don't really need. This is for really old programs that might need help running on Windows 10 or a newer thing. They're like designed for like Windows 95, 98, XP, Vista. But if you, all these programs I have here, I only have a few since I haven't gotten time to install all my software yet. But all my programs anyway are like compatible with Windows 10 by default, so this shouldn't really affect anything. Now, there is a troubleshooter for this. Like if you right click on like Chrome, for example, hit compatibility, it'll say like run compatibility troubleshooter. I don't think that'll work if you click on that. I could be wrong, but it does affect the troubleshooter and the compatibility settings. Radio management service, we can just disable. If you have a laptop and you use airplane mode, I don't use that, so now I believe this service will crash because it can't stop itself. So yeah, it can't stop it. So I'm just gonna hit apply. It's disabled, so next time you start it, it won't run. Now, Realtek Bluetooth device manager service, I don't need that. I don't use Bluetooth, and it's from one of my drivers, my manufacturer of, I guess, my Bluetooth driver. So just disable that. I'm going to keep the Realtek audio service because I believe that's for my speakers that I have up and running. This one I do not need. Remote access connection manager, I don't use that. So now you'll notice over here, I don't know how much is really changing, but you'll notice the memory might go down a little bit. Though I don't know how much it's going to affect it. But definitely when we restart, you'll see the memory difference. Plug and play, that's critical. Don't disable that unless you don't want to connect devices to your computer anymore. I believe that's what it does. It's a fairly old service. I'm not going to touch it. This one's for the printer. If you disable that, you won't be able to print. That one's still running. We turn that off. This one's really critical. You want this one to be running because if it's not running, you're not going to be able to boot, and pretty much is like very important to pretty much most Windows components rely on the RPC or the remote procedure call and the RPC endpoint manager for some sort of something. It's like very critical that you keep it running. This one is useless. It's very old technology. Don't need it. It's for like really old business computers, and I'm not using a business computer. So as you can see, I'm using Windows 10 Home, so I'm not on some fancy server on this. So Security Center we can't disable, but we can add a registry key that can disable it. This thing's useless. It's just a waste. I know it's been around since like Windows XP or something, but it's not really needed. It's for like where is it? I believe it's security and maintenance, and it's basically this thing relies on it, so I don't need that. It just tells you the status of user account control, which previously we disabled. So this keep running. This is now probably won't be on your computer, but for my sake, I'm disabling it because that thing is like kind of a huge memory hog at times. Sometimes it's using like 30 megabytes of memory, and that's very unusual for a service, especially certain services, especially for a third-party service, but I'm disabling it. Also, these are disable these ones. Now, you might be saying, why am I disabling these audio services? These ones actually won't affect the audio. At least I'm concerned that these versions of the software won't affect the audio, so I'm going to disable that. Yep, that one stopped. This one I'm going to keep running. You don't need this one, but it's nice to have, like if you go to settings and you go to system storage, it's basically this thing right here. And as you notice, this storage service is basically, this menu relies on the storage service to run. And it's a pretty nice feature that newer versions of Windows have, where you can have it clean up files and stuff when you're not using your computer in temporary files like I already have. I'll go through later in the video and removing that stuff, but I'm keeping that running. This thing I think we tried stopping. This one we can stop, but we can't disable it because it's a user service. Sysmain, that's a huge hog. It's like the third most used memory. As soon as we stop that, you'll notice the RAM definitely will go down. Or I guess it didn't change actual because I have enough RAM. But on some computers, you'll see it dramatically decrease because this thing claims to improve system performance over time, but honestly, it's just a huge memory hog and kind of a waste, and maybe designed for older systems that might need that. And I don't even know how much. It's like pretty old. It's fairly old from Windows Vista, but I don't ever use this. This service right here is another legacy technology. I don't know how many people use NetBIOS anyway. To configure your BIOS from the network, I guess. I don't use that. System Events Broker, that's for Windows RT or Windows Runtime. This is basically for the Windows Store applications. Now, this one I'm going to keep running for now because there's quite a bit of services that are dependent on this, I believe. Yeah, Task Scheduler. You won't be able to schedule tasks if this is gone, so I'm keeping that at least for now. Themes we can keep. Not really huge memory hogs, basically just modifying themes. Time Broker, this is another one of these RT ones. This one you'll actually have to go to the registry in order to disable because it's another one of those Microsoft ones that they have protected from modifying. So we're going to have to actually modify registry keys later. Touch keyboard, I believe this one, I guess we could disable it. This one's not really anything important. It's for this, and I don't use that. This is a desktop. If you're using like a touch pad or touch keyboard, yeah, so basically it's dependent on that, but we can't stop it for some odd reason. We get disabled, but we can't stop it. So next time we next Windows session we can that'll be gone. This orchestrator service, I don't think we can disable. Oh, I guess we can. It's basically in charge of Windows Update, and I don't use Windows Update, so this thing is like it checks Windows Updates, always phoning home to Microsoft servers every like couple of 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just checking for updates every now and then. And it's just a waste, in my opinion. If you like Windows Update, you're gonna have to keep it if you like it. Web Account Manager, not really anything useful about this. It's just from the description it sounds important, but it's really nothing but just a waste. Take no action. Apply. Windows Error Reporting Service, we do not need. I have no clue how that one snuck in front of me unless it just started or something, but we disabled Windows Error Reporting earlier in the video. But this we do not need. There's not really any necessary reason of having it, except it like basically has this dialogue that comes up. It's like, unless you like seeing that dialogue for some odd reason, it's not really anything useful. Microsoft Account Sign-In Assistant. Now, if you disable this one, I don't use a Microsoft account, I use a local account. So this one, if you are like if you sign in with a Microsoft account, it's recommended you keep this one because you won't be able to log into the computer at all if you have a Microsoft account. So I don't have a Microsoft account. I'm using just a local one, so this won't have any effect on it whatsoever. And this one's just complete waste. This one's you can probably keep. That's for the shadow copy. This one's another user service. We can just stop that. Okay, we definitely do not need this from Intel. I have no clue how that snuck in front of me. Disable that. I don't use overclocking, so whatever that does. Windows Update, we can disable. Recovery, take no action. Now, Windows has this mechanism where after a few days, if a Windows Update is undetected for a while, it will regenerate itself, but there is a Winareo tweak for that. If you go into disable Windows Update, actually I have that checked, so it will disable Windows 10 from installing updates, stop Windows 10 from rebooting your computer, disable nags and pop-ups, and avoid forced updates. So that's good, got that off. This service, we're gonna have to remove the registry. Workstation, the name sounds important, but it's another outdated SMB protocol, whatever that is. It's for some old network service. I don't use that, so we can disable that. Again, take no action. Now this how I've been doing this with the recovery options, that's not required. It's just an extra safety feature that I've taken. Okay, this Windows search is, I'm definitely getting rid of because I don't ever use this, and it actually slows down a lot of things even though it claims, and it's also not good on hard drives, so I'm gonna disable it, stop it. Yep, you notice how the memory just went down right there. Apply. Now you'll notice that whenever you try searching for things in the start menu, I believe it'll say like, surprisingly I guess not, sometimes it says like the indexing service isn't running or something. Yeah, indexing options. Yeah, it says index is not running. That's a good thing in our case. Okay, this Windows Medic service, that's like in charge of repairing Windows Update, but do not need that. It's also, I don't like the name Windows as a service. I like products, not services, so yeah, oh my gosh, access is denied. Yeah, we're gonna have to remove that through the registry. This one we're gonna have to remove through the registry as well. This one I'm keeping. This is for cameras, so I'll keep that. Windows Event Log you can disable if you like or not, but this one is kind of critical if you like looking at the event viewer. If you have an error, serious problem, I'm gonna leave it on for this sake of this video. Most of the time I disable it because it just, also I believe there's a few services that are dependent on this. Yeah, like these ones. So if you disable those services will be affected. But it uses a lot of memory all the time. Like it's one of the highest a lot of disk usage. It's like one of the highest consumers all the time. I'll just keep it running. I don't have a biometric login, so this doesn't matter. Stop. Apply. This one you can have running or not. I'm going to just disable it. This one will improve the font caching of programs, but I'm going to disable it and keep it running. All these user services keep coming back. These push notifications, you can't disable those. You have to go in the registry, but they don't really bother me too much. They're basically, if you disable that, then the notifications won't work on Windows. So you're going to want to keep those if you use notifications. Disable whatever this is. It's third-party driver. Oh, is this the one that, I believe this is the one that crashed. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're good with that, for the most part. This one you can disable if not. I don't really care about this one. Okay. Okay, next I'm going to open up Process Hacker for this. You can download that off the internet. It's a third-party application. It's very useful when describing services. So as you can see, it's getting a little bit better, cleaning up a little bit of stuff. I mean, now it's down to 99. Whenever I first checked, it was down to up to like 150. So we're slowly but surely getting to the optimal performance that I want. So we can go to the Services tab in Process Hacker. Then up here's where it says View. You're going to want to hide driver services. That's basically all these drivers. But in this case, we're not disabling any drivers. And honestly, I wouldn't really disable any. They're like pretty small anyway. So let's see what's running still. This one might affect, but I have modified the registry a few times with this one. This one's just a pain to remove. I'll do it later. Security Center. This one's set to auto start. Like even on this program, I'll say access is denied, I believe. So we can't change that. So what we can do is right click on it, hit open key, open up a registry key. Again, you'll need to be the administrator for this, and then see where it says start. You're going to want to set the value to 4. 4 means disabled in this case. So we can close that. Then if we hit that, it'll say disabled. So it changed it from the registry, and now it takes effect in this program. So I believe if you try to restart it, oh yeah, you can't even restart it because access denied. But believe next time whenever you start it, it won't load right because it's disabled, and unless it ignores that disabled message. I know some services are sneaky and they go around the disabled key in the registry. So what we might have to do is go back to the registry and actually delete all these values. Another little safeguard thing I do is hit permissions, right click on the key, and then I add a new value called everyone. Check names, make sure it's good, hit OK. Everyone, hit deny. This will deny access to all. The reason why I'm doing this is because it'll deny access to basically Windows sometimes has a service control manager recreate new services that are either corrupt or missing or have incorrect values. So what this will do is deny anyone running on the computer, whether it's a system account or just a local administrator, from being able to access this thing, so it won't be able to repair it either. So yeah, it can't be open because access denied. So any user, no matter who you log in with, this you won't be able to access this unless you change the permissions. Actually, I don't even think you can change the permissions, so that's gone. This one I'm just going to keep just for the sake of the notification because I use that. Base filtering engine, that's for a Windows Defender. You probably just want that on. This one, get rid of. But you can't disable it because it's one of those things we did try in services.msc, the console program we were just in, and it doesn't work, so we're going to have to actually open the key and just do the start to 4. That should. And then whenever you click on it, it'll say disabled, so that's good. I believe whenever we just try to restart, oh yeah, you can't restart it. What am I thinking? Going to keep these display enhancement and policy services. If you're running a desktop or you don't use Windows Nightlight, you can disable those. A time broker we do not need. I mean, it might have some importance if you use the settings application. Some of these things might break in here, like depending on the thing, it might crash if you click on some of these. So unless you're in the settings all day, I would disable it. I'm just going to keep it running for the sake of this video. Touch or tablet input service, open key. Oh, it's already set to 4, so it means disabled. So I don't know if we can just restart. Oh, I guess not valid. Also another thing I forgot to tell you is we can actually delete services altogether if you find that faster. The only thing is I think some of these things they regenerate, so you can disable it, see what happens. By the way, like, it won't actually delete it until the service is finished, is completely not running. So this one, yeah, I can't accept control messages, so thought we disabled this one, but I guess not. This one's not really anything important unless you're using universal plug and play on SSDP devices, and it's another old network service that I don't really care. Yep, we try restarting it, and the good thing is this is actually supposed to happen if you try restarting it. It'll basically try to it's the service control manager is attempting to start this service, but we have it disabled, and that's what we want. So it will not run. This one we're gonna have to actually. This one's actually an actual executable and not like running on a service DLL. A lot of service host ones, and pretty much a majority of all these ones are running on a service the SVC host, and this one's running on its actual own executable that's unique. You can actually delete that thing entirely, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to edit a registry key, and it'll basically have the same effect. The only difference is it'll still be on the hard drive. 4. Now this one might be one of those services that's a little sneaky. It might install itself again, so I'm going to delete all the keys. Just don't delete the default, because if you delete the default, it'll apparently regenerate itself. That's what I learned. Hit permissions, add everyone, check names, hit OK, everyone, deny, apply, yes, OK. Okay, it's denied, so no service account or system user will be able to regenerate that, because Windows does have secret users that run. Like if you go to users, details, it'll say what username it's running on. Some of these are local service or system, and those are like special accounts for services and like critical system files, but they're also in charge of recreating these completely unimportant services that come up every now and then, so they won't be able to access it either. I'm just going to disable or delete this. I guess we can't delete that. I'm running as an administrator, so I must have really special permissions. Windows Security Health Service. Let me just look at the properties of this real quick. Yeah, it's running on its own thing. So if we try disabling it, it's not going to work. So we have to go and open the key. Yep, this is the right one. Hit 3 to 4. Then basically Windows will remember that, I believe, or the somewhere in the registry it remembers that. So then we just delete that, and then it's just an extra safeguard. I don't think you necessarily have to do all this work to get it to stop running. I'm just being extra cautious because I don't like these things coming back every time you start up, because sometimes when you restart they recreate themselves. So just taking extra precautions there. Let's refresh. Okay. Security Center. Security Center. Did we get rid of this one? Maybe. Yeah, maybe it's gone. So that's about it when getting rid of these. Or you know what? We should get rid of. Okay, so I'm gonna restart, and I'll be back later in the video. Hello, I'm back after that restart. So as you notice earlier in this video, you noticed that the memory was way higher before. So we're already looking pretty good when it comes to performance. So as you noticed in Task Manager, that after we restarted, all the service hosts are now pretty much grouped instead of individual entries. So you notice there's a lot less processes in here than previously. Like even last time it was at 99, now it's at 61. So we're heading in the right direction. Yeah, so let's get back into it. So I'm going to open up Process Hacker again, run as an administrator. Going to go to the Services tab. Now you'll notice all these user services. So I believe all these we can just delete entirely. Yeah, we're going to need administrator permission for that. What do I do? Wasn't run as an administrator. Status running. These I'm going to keep. Again, I'm going to keep, like I said. But they are user services. If you want, you can disable them. They won't necessarily make your system unbootable, but they will affect the notifications. So I'm going to disable that. This one will be gone. Yep, says deleted. Once you delete those, it'll be red, and it should disappear. But I kept it on the highlighting on for this amount of milliseconds, so it'll stay on there for me at least. This one, another user service. I'm just gonna hit delete. Oh, this one's already been marked for deletion. That's good. So this one, I'm going to, depending on your computer, you might just want it running. This one, clipboard. I don't use the online clipboard. I believe there's like some keyboard shortcuts for it, but it's basically worthless if you're just doing regular things. If you don't use the Microsoft Online clipboard, it's like a cloud clipboard thing, and runs under svchost group. So not it basically runs as its own separate entity in Task Manager, so not a huge fan of that either. Wait, where is it? Yep, it's just running as one services, while some of these other ones are running as like 4 or 5 or 6, and that's way more energy efficient, and or I meant not so much energy efficient, but more performance based, because it's running all under one hood of one service host instead of like individual service hosts for each one. Now some of these ones are going to keep running no matter what under one, because literally their user account like needs, some of these ones are like network restricted, so they have to run under those profiles because, I don't know, it's just way Microsoft programmed their operating system. So delete, then stop. That one will be stopped and you won't see that anymore. Connected devices platform, complete useless, delete, then stop. As you can see here in the red, those are the services we deleted so far. Yeah, it's definitely good to make a registry backup, and also like what we did earlier in this video, so in case you do run across or delete the wrong service, that you can, always restore to that previous point where things worked. It's looking pretty good for the most part. This one we can delete. I don't use contact data on here, so stop. This one, delete. You do not need one sync. I don't even know what that's for. It's for, but I know I definitely do not need that. Just so you know, I tried out all these things before on a previous build, so if you're wondering if I'm just doing this for the first time, I've done this a few times, so I know what I'm deleting. That one I will come back to. I know sometimes I've gotten weird results from this one. If you like disable it, it'll stop Explore from launching. I don't know, it must just be a group policy setting or something, but I'll come back to that maybe next time. Probably also going to create another system restore, because this one is a unique service and Microsoft loves this service for some reason, because it deploys all this garbage bloatware to the system. Yeah, a delivery optimization, open key. I think that's one we forgot about. Just hit 4. That one I'm just gonna flat out delete. Oh yeah, this one's access denied. I don't know if it'll start. I think it does. It just like ignores our setting, even though like if you click on it, it's disabled. So Microsoft's sneaky. They go around that disabled thing. They're supposed to abide by that disabled. Basically, we're telling it that we want it to be disabled, but it goes around that and starts it anyway. Like if you try restarting it. Yes, it successfully starts it, so it ignores the disabled. So some services are sneaky like that. They just run, they ignore your settings in the registry, and they just go right for it. So this one, we can't delete it specifically, but we can delete all its registry values. So I'm just going to delete all the registry values and prevent the Service Control Manager or anyone else from adding it again. So I'm just going to hit everyone, check names, okay. Everyone, deny, hit apply, yes, okay. We can't access it anymore, so let's see if, now this is just a test, so let's see if we can restart it. It shouldn't work. We can't restart it because access denied, because we denied access in the registry, which it's dependent on the registry key in order to start, so that's good. Yeah, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing here right now. I think we can come back to some of these services later. I mean, you could disable some of these, like these. I mean, these ones I have disabled on my main computer, but I don't know about these new updates. Some of these ones, they're a pain to get rid of. I believe this one you just stop. Yeah, that one's gone. Like some of these ones I have disabled on my main computer, but again, I don't know the effects on these because I'm running a newer build in WinVer. So yeah, I'm running like the latest version they have. Now my computer, my main computer, I'm using a Win2 USB, but on my actual computer I'm running on a hard drive. So I'm running like a Windows version from I believe either November of 2018 or October of, I think it's like the October update of 2018, so it's a fairly old update. This one's from like 2021, so yeah. Sometimes they change these services to only work with certain versions, so okay, I'll close out of that. So for the services part, we're pretty much good with that. We've got it down to a reasonable and respectable number of services listed in here that are basically required or provide certain functionality for certain settings. So this is I finished the service sections of this video, so now we're going to start removing actual programs and unwanted bloatware from the system. The next phase of this video will be removing all this unnecessary universal platform apps from Microsoft. A lot of these modern applications, I don't know how many people use those, but we'll be removing those. I know a lot of people don't use them, and they are taking up hard drive space, so that will be the next portion of this video, is focusing on uninstalling Microsoft Edge, Cortana, etc. Any of this other stuff, you can uninstall that. I know some of this stuff you can just uninstall from the actual menu itself, but the thing about it is that it actually keeps it on the hard drive in a it keeps it in I can show you the actual folder. It's in this folder, but you can't access it, but it keeps it in this folder called Windows Apps. And then there's another folder it keeps it in. Certain applications use it, like Cortana and the Search and the Taskbar. They all, no, it's not System 32. What am I doing? It's called this folder called System Apps, but as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in here for like the shell interface and parental controls. This stuff we'll be getting into. We won't actually be in this folder. I believe we won't have to be in this folder because we have this little tool from Nirsoft. It's called Installed Apps View. You can download this third-party tool. It's from Nirsoft. Nirsoft, if you're curious. As always, run it as an administrator. Now here, it'll give you all of these apps that are installed on your system other than the Win32 programs, which are like, desktop applications. So it'll give you all the modern applications. Like, it won't give you like these apps that are like Win32, like VLC or Chrome or Firefox or those ones, but it will give you a list of all these universal apps that, like, they're universal. You notice how like they're different. They have different animations and stuff. But we're going to be getting rid of the UWP apps. I believe that's what it's called. All you do is have to hit quietly uninstall selected software, and it will remove it. As you can see, it's running a PowerShell script in thing, and yep, it's gone. It removed the XML file as well, so that's a good thing. Skype, as you can see, I believe I just saw one of these things, like, for example, like you click on this and it has this annoying thing. It says share with Skype. That's one extra thing Windows has to do, and it's kind of annoying, especially if you don't use Skype. And I don't know why you would even want to share this with Skype. It's just an application. But if you go back to the application, you can just uninstall Skype, the entire program, and also remove all the packages that are associated with that dialog that I just showed you. So this, you can uninstall it here, but it won't actually remove it. It'll just keep it. So we're going to have to remove it with other means. Quietly uninstall selected app. It's going to run another PowerShell script. It's also going to run the AppX deployment service. That's another reason why you wanted to keep that service, because that's in charge of actually removing the bloatware, as it is also in charge of deploying bloatware and removing bloatware. So we can get rid of that after we're done, I believe. I'm not actually going to get rid of it, but I'm just going to keep it. Xbox Game Bar, that's basically this thing down here. I don't use Xbox Game Bar, but it'll remove it through that method. If that's gone, I don't know why there's another package here that says we'll remove that too. Should also disappear from the start menu after we're done. You'll notice there's a lot less applications. Your phone app, I don't use that. That's this thing down here. I don't use that. If you use these applications, then you can keep them. I never use any of these, hardly any of them at all for regular things I do. A lot of the stuff I use are like actual Win32 programs, so they aren't affected by this thing. And most people use Win32. I don't know how many people use some of this, bloated new stuff that Microsoft has that they claim is faster. Next, also I realized I forgot to unpin the mail app from the thing. And also, while I'm at it, before I get into uninstalling other stuff, I would like to open up settings and show you some settings that I would recommend for privacy. So I've turned all of these off. These don't help whatsoever. They're useless. Speech, I don't use speech, so as soon as this loads, we can disable that. I believe maybe it's not working because we disabled a service anyway that needs that. And there was quite a bit of the services settings needs like 10, 15 services that require it, but some of them aren't even that important. Oh, I guess it crashed as soon as we did that, so must means that we got rid of something that doesn't. Oh yeah, that's right, we disabled the activity logs. So where am I at? Privacy camera, that's on. I don't use the camera. Actually, I'm gonna keep that on in case I have to do Zoom or something. Microphone, obviously I'm using the microphone right now. Also, I'm using desktop applications using it. That's my video recording software. Voice activation, I can disable. That's if you want like almost like Cortana to respond to you. But I never used any of that stuff. And it's like if you want her to respond to you, or if you have like, for example, Siri, you want to have her respond to you. I don't use that, so I'm good. You can just keep that on. If you don't actually use any of these applications, you can just, but I use like Chrome notifications for websites and stuff, so I'm keeping that on. Account info, I'll just keep that on. Either way, I don't think it really matters. Contacts, I don't use mail and calendar, so that will matter. I don't use calendar. Phone calls, this thing isn't even capable of phone calls, so I don't even know why it has this. This isn't like a mobile phone, so this is actually a desktop, and it can't make calls. So call history, disable. Email, I'll keep on. Tasks, I'll disable. Messaging, I'll use that. Radios, this thing basically allows it to communicate with radios, but it's just a waste of performance. Other devices will communicate with other unpaired devices that are near you. Like if you have a laptop and you're like in a like busy city or at airport, it'll like try to connect with devices that are near the computer. And in this case, we don't want it. Okay, now this is probably the most important thing that I'm going to be getting rid of for performance-wise. Background apps. By default, Microsoft has all these apps run in the background because, I don't know, they claim that it makes them load faster, but it takes up huge chunks of RAMs, as you can tell from Process Hacker. Pretty much all these things, everything I highlighted, like from here to here, that is all apps that are running in the background that are related to that, besides system settings. That's the only difference. But like these runtime brokers, those are all like, and you can see the memory usage. They're taking up chunks of memory that honestly I consider pretty precious. So especially if you're running like a really, really slow computer, this will definitely make boot times a lot faster and reduce the amount of physical memory in use on your computer. What about that desktop and window manager? I'll just ignore that. So I'll disable that. This probably won't take effect till start, but this I'm gonna change to off because we don't need apps diagnosing things. So that's basically good with the privacy. And I'm gonna go back to removing some of this stuff. So photos, I never use photos. Earlier in the video, I showed you that I was using Windows Photo Viewer, which is completely an older program. This is the modern version of it, so I'm going to quietly uninstall that, and I believe you'll see it. Yep, it's gone. Alarms, I don't use alarms. I occasionally use calculator, I'll keep that. Camera, don't need that. It won't actually affect your camera. You'll still be able to use your camera. It's just the actual, yeah, it's gone already. Get rid of this. It's third party. I don't use OneNote. If you use OneNote, then keep it. Zune Video, that's like the video application, but I have VLC installed, so I don't need that. Zune Music, it's basically the same thing. It's just Groove Music or whatever. Yeah, it just disappeared. Yeah. Xbox apps, I don't use. There's a lot of Xbox stuff on here. I don't use it, any of it. I don't game, so if you use that, then yes. I mean, I remember the Xbox things were down here, so they're gone. If you do use Xbox on your PC, then you probably want to keep them, but if you're like me and don't use that, it's really just a waste. Yeah, you can see it doing its work. Why this one didn't remove. I guess it removed it since Feedback Hub, I don't use that. That's whatever the thing is. It's gone. Oh, there it is. I don't think this will work anymore. Yep, it's broken, but it'll just have to remove itself. Maps, I'm just going to remove that. That's basically Bing Maps. Yeah, it's gone already. I don't use that. People Experience Host, that's like this thing, show people on the taskbar. I don't use that, so it's just a waste in my opinion, so that'll be gone. We'll get rid of this one, Security Health UI. I don't use that. That's basically like this thing right here. Should disappear as soon as it's finished. Yeah. Guess it is it doing its thing? Yeah, I guess. The XGPU eject. I don't even know why they even have an app just for a dialogue. It's kind of dumb. Narrator Quick Start, gonna disable or uninstall that. I don't use that. Content Delivery Manager, that's something to do with updates. I don't use that either. Cloud Experience Host, definitely don't use. I store all my things on my computer. I don't use the cloud for anything really. Oh yes, Cortana, my favorite. Being sarcastic. Okay, I'm gonna quietly uninstall that. Or actually, I'm gonna make sure that this actually uninstalls correctly. So I'm going to hit yes. It's going to deploy itself, and Cortana's gone. Yeah, it should be under C's, but it's gone. Fine with me. HP stuff, I'm getting rid of. My manufacturer has this third-party stuff, so that's going to be gone. Microsoft Pay, you're not going to see that in the Start menu. I believe it's some sort of thing for payment. But I don't use Microsoft Pay, so if you use that, you can keep it. Microsoft Store, yes, you can remove that too. Yep, it's gone. Solitaire, I don't use Solitaire. If you do, you can keep it. It's gone already. I'll just keep that. I don't know what it is. I'll just keep it. Whatever. Accounts control, keep. Bing Weather, I don't use that. That's that weather thing down here. We'll get rid of that package. So 3D Viewer, I don't use. I'll get rid of that. I don't use Microsoft Edge developer tools, so and either way, that's for an old version of Microsoft Edge, so it isn't even like the new version, so that's really kind of pointless. Sticky Notes, I don't use. Mixed Reality Portal, I don't use. This MS Paint, it's not the good old MS Paint that we all know and love. It's this is the old school Paint, but instead it's this. They just renamed it the same thing. It's this Paint 3D that no one ever uses. Either way, it's kind of interesting. It's just slow, and you know, as you can tell, it's very graphic intensive, and this one's like very basic. It's been around since the 80s. I mean, it's changed quite a bit since the 80s, but it's basically the same mspaint.exe file, so I'm gonna uninstall that. That by the way, this thing will still work. Paint ms, yeah, it still works even after you uninstall it. So that's not the right one. So it uninstalls basically the newer version. Microsoft People, I believe that's the People bar, but I don't use People, so. Screen Sketch, that's basically snip and sketch, but I use snipping tool. This is snipping tool, but then they have the snip and sketch, but that will be uninstalled as soon as, yeah, it looks like, look, the start menu's already looking a lot cleaner. Store purchase app, I believe that's like a support thing. If you uninstall the store thing, you could uninstall that too, but if you're keeping it, you probably want that because that's probably like another support thing. Calling app, shell app, I don't ever think it's that important. Sound recorder, I don't use. Barcode preview. I don't even know why some of these things are on a home computer. Some of them aren't even compatible with home. They're like for enterprise editions, so. Oh yes, tips, if I can find that. Where is it? Get help, we'll get rid of that. I don't need get help, it's for your grandma. Edge, uninstall that. Now that's not the new edition of Microsoft Edge. That's the old version that they still somehow get away with bundling it with it. I'll get rid of this one, this async text service. I don't think it's that important. I think it has something to do with the text client on here. Bio enrollment, that's like, I don't know, just uninstalling it. This text input application, I'm going to try to get rid of next. I don't think it's that important, and it is out of all of them, it's probably one of the higher memory things. Now, you're wondering probably why some of these service hosts are using more memory than normal. It's because there's less of them, and they're just grouping themselves together. And it actually is technically saving RAM, as I explained earlier in this video. Get started. If that's gone. Now, a lot of these are the runtimes or like other stuff. Unless you know what you're doing, I'm just going to keep them. I know what most of them do. Like some of these are runtimes for actual Microsoft Store apps. I would keep these. You can do what you want with that. Windows communication apps, I'll get rid of that. Callable UI, get rid of that. PDF reader, I use either Chrome or something else, or Adobe Acrobat, but hardly anyone uses Windows to view PDFs, and Edge. It's like okay, we're looking pretty good for that. Yes, it looks like there's a lot of stuff that we got rid of. So now we're going to go back in, and this is when the take ownership thing is going to come in handy, as we created earlier in Winareo Tweaker, as I was talking about that earlier. So this System Apps, it's 140 megabytes. It should actually be a lot larger, but I believe we deleted quite a bit of the stuff out using that uninstall tool we had. But we're going to take ownership of it. What this will do is basically grant the administrator, which is me, the full authority over this folder for deleting it, which you'll have to do in order to delete or modify files in here. So after this finished up, and so any key to continue. Now I'm going to delete certain things in here. So the Microsoft text input application, that can be found if you're wondering how to delete that. I know it's in here. Or I'm just going to open file location. It'll be faster. It's in there, I guess. Text input. Yeah, so I guess it's in here. Weird thing is I don't even see the executable, but Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm going to delete this whole folder. Now, obviously, it's open in another program because it's open in this, but if we end the task, we can quickly, you're going to want to do this as quick as possible, but you can delete it and then it goes in your recycle bin. So that's gone, taken care of. Now, this is the start menu. Obviously, that consumes quite a bit, but it has this mode where it will use, apparently, it will go idle, so it will help out a little bit. This is unrelated to anything we did. It's just something that Microsoft has. These runtime brokers, they'll be gone. The name sounds important again, but they provide support for Microsoft Store apps. So this search, now you're wondering why it's using 0 megabytes or 0 that. Apparently, it actually is still using some. It's just that they just don't, they're lying to you. It's actually using 95 megabytes of memory right now, but it is suspended. Windows will suspend some of these modern applications, such as a search app, so it will save a little bit of CPU usage, but it doesn't. Instead, just puts it on the page file, which it's using 95 megabytes of page file. You're gonna want this if you want to search things in Windows like this. It's basically responsible for searching that. But if you don't use typing in things in the start menu, you can get rid of that. I'm just gonna keep it. It's not really a huge problem. This Microsoft Edge update. I'm just gonna end the task. It's not really a huge things. These Java things, you don't have to worry about those. Those are unless you have Java installed, which I do. Okay, it's looking pretty good from there. Now we're going to open up this other tool from Nirsoft, Nirsoft. Right-click, run as an administrator. And here it'll give us some of these programs that we actually can change. Like in Edge, if you try uninstalling that, like in the Apps and Features panel, it'll say it's grayed out, you can't uninstall it. The only thing you can do is modify, and even then, modifying it, you can only repair it. So here, you can actually uninstall the entire program itself. So if you hit uninstall selected software, also clear your browsing data. I don't think I have any, so I'm just going to click that anyway. If you use Microsoft Edge, don't do this. But if you are like me and use Google Chrome or Firefox, you don't need this. It's taking up about half a gig of disk space. So you can just right click and hit uninstall, and yep, it'll delete all this stuff from Microsoft Edge. And yep, it has no association in the default apps settings, and it also deleted all the services responsible for that. Yeah, it's probably going to come up with some, ask me later. Yeah, it's been uninstalled, so it even brought up an Internet Explorer dialog. I'm also going to show you how to get rid of Internet Explorer if you want to get rid of that too. No one uses that. Hardly anyone uses it. And it's slow and sluggish. It's already crashed. So next, I'm going to get rid of Microsoft Update Health Tools. Now, this is a pretty small install anyway, but it's one less thing on the computer. And nice thing about this tool is it gives you a lot of information. It even gives you like the registry location if you find that useful. I'm just going to hit uninstall selected software. It's going to bring up Windows installer, I believe. That's what it runs on. Yep. Do you want to install this product? Yep. That's gone. And all this stuff I'm keeping. This one's the runtime for my video software, so you're going to want to keep all these Visual C++ ones, obviously, because they get downloaded if you have a program that requires that, which a lot do. Yeah, it's already looking way cleaner in this app menu. We can close out of that. Next thing I'm going to do is open up, I'm going to go to the start menu. I'm going to type in control panel. It should come up automatically as soon as you press in CON. If not, you can just type out control panel. So I have it large icons. By default, it says this. I'm just going to hit large icons. And down here, where it says programs and features, I'm going to click on that. It's going to look very similar to the apps and features, but this one will give you an extra option to turn off Windows features on or off. And in this case, we're going to, if you don't want Internet Explorer, now you can check or uncheck any of these things, but this won't actually really affect the performance a whole lot. It'll just save up some disk space on the C drive if you get rid of some of these things. So media features. This has Windows Media Player on here. I have VLC on here, so I don't need that. It's going to say this might affect other Windows features and programs. Hit yes. We don't need any media features on here because we already got a third-party media player. Print to PDF. I'm going to keep that. That's basically the printer. Printing to pretty PDF files. It's pretty useful, at least for me. If you don't have a printer, you can still actually use that. XPS document writer. I don't know how many people use that. I never have ever seen myself using that, so you can get rid of that too. Print and document services, just keep that on. I'm not sure exactly. I think that has something to do with the printer driver and stuff like that. So if you want to keep printing stuff, keep those checked. If you also, another thing Windows has is you can also enable the Windows subsystem for Linux. So it'll enable, you can run, I believe, native Unix apps on Windows, something to do with that. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to be able to say much about that. Oh yes, you're probably also going to want this Net Framework 3.5 because a lot of old games and stuff run on this. Now these you don't need, I don't think. You just want the Network 3.5. Now it has Net Framework 4.8 Advanced Services. You can check that. Now the last thing I'm going to do in here is uncheck Internet Explorer 11, which I don't use. There's too many browsers on here. It's like Edge, Explorer, and I just use simply Google Chrome for most of my stuff. I use Firefox sometimes, so I haven't installed Firefox yet, but I will when I get time. Work folders I don't use. It's just for work files, and a lot of businesses don't even use this. It's like I think like 2% people use this, so I'm gonna hit OK. It's gonna yeah. Let me go back to that. I have no idea why that didn't work. Probably because I disabled the updates. Maybe I should have came in here earlier. I'm just gonna uncheck stuff. I don't really care much about the 3.5. I can just install that some other day. Hit OK. Or I'm gonna hit cancel because I forgot to remove the XPS document viewer, so I don't really use that, so I can get rid of that. Get rid of the work folders client, and it looks like it's all good. Applying changes. Now it's gonna have to restart in order to complete these changes. I'm just gonna hit don't restart. Also here you can view installed updates. You know, install these things if you don't want them. I'm just going to keep them for now. I don't even know if I can uninstall them because I got rid of the update service, and that you need that in order to uninstall things. Okay, so the next portion of this video will be dedicated to uninstalling, or I meant removing startup programs that start when Windows starts. So it's this tool. I made this custom folder a while back, but it has all these programs that I find useful. The tool I'm going to be using today is called Autoruns. You have to agree to this. It's from Sys Internals, which is like a division of Microsoft or something. So Microsoft does, like, it is on their website. So they're like a sub company of Microsoft. But here you can remove all these startup entries that come up when Windows boots, and this will definitely improve performance. So I'm just going to go through these one by one little bit. Now yours will probably look different, especially if you have a lot of programs and other stuff that's supposed to start when Windows loads. So you can uncheck other programs. This is basically like a fancier version of the startup tab in Task Manager, but it shows you way more details in the actual registry of where these files are loaded from. So I have Java installed, but I don't ever need the update, so I'm just gonna uncheck that. Process Hacker, it's this. I like having that when it starts up. If you don't have that installed, you can literally keep it or get rid of it if you don't want that. Google Chrome, this is just Google Chrome installer. Now if you like getting Google Chrome updates, you're gonna want to keep this. I don't really care about Google Chrome updates, so yeah, I'm gonna disable that. Now these things might be here. They're context menu handlers. They're from Windows Defender, which apparently I uninstalled, but I didn't actually delete the actual entries themselves in the registry, so they still show up as being there, but they said file not found. So you can get rid of that or not. I don't need these. These are for like Internet Explorer, and we got rid of that. So these are just registry entries for that if you want to use a Java browser plugin, which I don't use because we just got rid of that. So Google Update Task Machine Core, get rid of that. I don't need that. I'll just get rid of all this stuff. See how much it'll allow me to get rid of this. I'll keep this as the audio service. Surprisingly, the services are pretty small. Google Chrome Elevation Service, I'll get rid of that. Google Update Maintenance or something. Get rid of that too. I'll keep that. That's my audio. Okay, these ones I deleted the files earlier before I actually made this video, so these files are located in this directory right here. If you're curious on how to delete it, you can use the take ownership for that. But the only thing is that like literally this Windows Defender is like a huge pain to remove, and I would probably have to spend 20 minutes just explaining how to remove it. So maybe not that long. It's just kind of like constantly restarting and rebooting. So there's probably plenty of tutorials on how to remove that. Internet Explorer we got rid of. I have no clue why this is even in there. Adobe Type Manager, the file's not even found, so it's this one extra thing the computer has to load that isn't even there. And these things we can't change, so yeah, so that's pretty much it for startup. I'm gonna get rid of this. Just stuff from Java. Okay, so that's basically how you get a pretty good running system. I hope you enjoyed this long video. I didn't expect to make it this long, but hopefully you found some of these tips to be useful and your computer is sped up in the process. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.